Today I'm going to show you exactly how to use Amazon PPC to get more exposure, increase your keyword rankings, and of course, get more sales on your Amazon products. In fact, using the strategy in this video, I generated over $10,000 in sales from an investment of only $3,000. This means for every 30 cents spent, I was able to make $1 in return. If you'd also like to generate sales like that, you're going to love this step-by-step video. So let's dive in. First up, PPC stands for pay per click, which is a form of advertising where you pay each time someone clicks on your ad. We're gonna set these up inside of Amazon's platform, and then Amazon will display your ads to the customer when they search for this type of product. Now, there are 3 types of ad campaigns on Amazon. However, we're gonna focus on sponsored product ads in this video as it's the most common and in my experience, the most effective. Let me show you where these ads appear on Amazon, and you'll see them on the search results pages at the very top. It can be one listing or sometimes as many as 5. You'll also find them in the middle of the page and sometimes also at the bottom. If you click into the product detail page, you'll also see them here in a number of locations, including sponsored products related to this item. Now, before I dive in and set these up, I want to talk about something that's foundational to your Amazon advertising, which is keyword research. It's important to have relevant keywords in your listing in order to tell Amazon what your product is and also help customers discover your product. With sponsored product ads, it's also important to do keyword research and have keywords relevant for your particular product, because in one of the targeting types called manual targeting, we're going to choose which keywords we want to show our products on. So to perform my keyword research, I'm going to use Jungle Scout's Keyword Scout. There are 2 strategies that I like to use. The first is to perform a reverse ASIN search on one of my competitors. To do this, all you do is copy the ASIN of your competitor's listing from either the URL or down in the product details section, paste that into Keyword Scout. Now you see how many different keywords they rank for. Let's go ahead and add all of these to a keyword list. Click a new one and give it a name. The second strategy I'm going to use is searching by keyword for my product. Try and use the keyword that best describes your particular product. Now I'll go ahead and add all of these to my keyword list as well. Let's go ahead and look at the new keyword list that I've created. You can see all of the keywords that I've added right here. There's a few different ways you can get these into your sponsored products campaign. The way that I like to do it is select all, go to export list, and then save it to a CSV file. I'm going to open this in Excel and all my keywords will be right here. Now what we want to do is import all of our keywords into Amazon. But before I do that, I want to remove any keywords that I don't think are relevant to my particular product, or that people who are searching for wouldn't want to purchase my product. This happens more with some types of products than others. Let me give you an example. If I were bidding on the term glasses, you can be shown keywords for either eyeglasses or drinking glasses. People searching for eyeglasses most likely aren't going to be interested in drinking glasses. Now, Amazon's pretty sophisticated, and they likely wouldn't show your product for people searching for eyeglasses. However, it is best practice to go ahead and just delete the keywords that you think people won't purchase your product for when they're searching for it. Typically, if it's in the right realm, then I keep it in there. If it's not, then I usually remove it. Again, what I did, to recap, I searched for one of my competitors, but I'd actually encourage you to search for more to see what keywords they rank for, because those are usually relevant for your particular product. I also then did a search in Keyword Scout for my main keyword or a keyword that I feel like describes my product well. I saved all those into a singular list. I exported that list so that I can now copy the column of keywords and paste them into my advertising campaigns. Keep in mind that the more specific a keyword is, the better it's going to perform for your particular product. But that being said, I usually keep the keywords relatively broad to get started, and then you'll see as we optimize, we choose which ones are performing well and which ones aren't. After this step, we now have a list of keywords ready to use in our sponsored products campaigns. Again, keywords are really important, not just for advertising, but also for your listing. I'd encourage you to take the most relevant keywords from this list that have the highest search volume and weave these into your listing. The title, description, bullets, and backend. We'll cover listing optimization in depth more in another video. So let's now go back to Seller Central and get some campaigns set up. Now, when you set up a sponsored products campaign, you have 2 different options: automatic targeting and manual targeting. With automatic targeting, these are very easy to set up because you don't have to choose which keywords or which pages you want to display your products on. Instead, Amazon's going to automatically choose these for you. The backend of Amazon is very sophisticated, and they have a pretty good idea of what kind of product you're selling based off of what keywords you use, the category that you're in, and maybe even some image recognition. Through all of that, they have an understanding of what types of keywords customers would search for and then end up purchasing your product. After you've had some sales, the system gets smarter and smarter because they can see what types of keywords people are searching for and then end up purchasing your product. So automatic campaigns are a great way to get started because you also get some good data from it, like which keywords your customers are searching for and which keywords they search for and then end up purchasing your product. The downside to it is you have less control over what gets targeted and how much you're bidding on for each keyword. Now let's talk about manual campaigns. They take a little more work to set up. In these, you have to choose which keyword or products or brands to target. Keyword targeting is the most common, but we'll also talk about product targeting once we get into setting up our manual campaign. The first thing that we're going to do is set up a portfolio and naming convention for our product. Now, when you only have one product, this isn't that big of a deal, but you'll find once you launch multiple products that it is important how you structure these so you can find them easily and keep your campaigns organized. The structure looks like this. First, you have a portfolio, then there's a campaign, then an ad group, and then finally the ad itself. I like to make my portfolio the type of product or the name of the product. Then I like to have different campaigns for automatic, manual product targeting, and then even sponsored brands or sponsored display. These are each going to be campaigns. Now on the ad group level, I like to have an ad group for each variation. For example, pretend I have a black version and a white version, and I'd like to have a black exact match campaign and a white exact match campaign. Those are each going to be ad groups. Now that you understand all that, let's create our first campaign, which is going to be an automatic campaign. From Seller Central, we'll go to Advertising, Campaign Manager. Note that in the future, this area might also be found inside of Amazon Advertising. Let's create a portfolio for a product, create campaign. We're going to click Sponsored Product Ads. We'll type in our campaign name, start it today and end it never. For people who have a little bit more money to spend on this, I would recommend a daily budget of $50 or even $100. Alternatively, you could do a daily budget of $30, but it usually doesn't last through the whole day. We'll leave this at automatic targeting. Now on this campaign bidding strategy, I think this part overwhelms a lot of people. So when you're first launching your automatic campaign, I'd recommend using dynamic bids up and down because Amazon will give you placements even if your bids aren't high enough for the keywords that they think are most likely to convert. A month down the road, if the automatic campaigns aren't performing very well and you need to look for ways to decrease the costs of the clicks, you might want to switch to down only, but to begin with, I'd recommend up and down. For the ad group name, I'm just going to name it automatic. I select the product I want to use and then the default bid. It offers you a suggested bid. What I found is that the suggested bid tends to be a little bit conservative for me, especially when you're just starting out and you want to be a little bit more aggressive in trying to get sales and clicks. I actually recommend something towards the upper end of this. What this is saying is by default, I'll spend up to this bid. Now that would be true if the dynamic bidding was down only, but since I'm doing up and down, really what it's saying is, all right, Amazon, if you're confident that someone will purchase this after a click, then I'll let you spend a higher amount. Now that particular scenario is fairly rare. What's more likely is some of your clicks are going to cost you 50 cents, others $1, $1.50, $2, and then you might see a few for like $3 or $3.50 or something along those lines. So I'll set my default bid to the high end of that range. To start off, I'm not going to have any negative keyword targets. What that means is Amazon will not show your ad to these particular keywords, even though they are choosing where to display my ads. At the beginning, I don't think this is really necessary. Unless you know something that you're worried people are going to be searching for and that it's just not relevant for your particular product, then you can go ahead and add those. Now just click Launch Campaign and Amazon will start showing these ads very soon. And congratulations, you just set up your first campaign. A few things to keep in mind are you won't have good data for this campaign for 3 or 4 days, but more realistically in about a week. If you run this for about a week, what you're likely gonna see is, oh my gosh, I'm spending way too much money. I'm losing a bunch of money on each sale. But don't freak out. For the first week, I'm asking you just to leave it there and just accept that, because what's happening is you're figuring out which keywords work for your product and which ones don't. Since most products have a conversion rate of under 10%, that means that the average product is going to require 10 clicks before you get a sale. So you just need to wait to get a few clicks through and then start to see which particular keywords your listing performs well on and which ones they don't. Let this run for about a week. After that, we'll go in and optimize it. So that's how you set up your first automatic campaign. The next step in my PPC process is to set up a manual campaign. After completing that, we'll come back and talk about optimizing both of these. Real quick, before we move on, are you finding value in this video? If so, would you mind doing me a huge favor and hitting that thumbs up below? Even consider subscribing if you haven't already, and make sure you hit that little bell icon so you get notified every time we release a new video. To create our manual campaign, we'll navigate into our portfolio again. Create campaign, and name this one referring back to the naming structure that we laid out earlier. Our portfolio is already chosen and no end date. Again, if you are willing and able to spend the money to get the results a little bit quicker, I'd recommend a daily budget of $50. If not, you can do about 30. We've selected manual targeting here. For the campaign bidding strategy, I actually like to do down only for my manual campaigns. Now, if you remember, I suggested up and down for automatic campaigns, and that tends to work better for me for automatic campaigns. But since you have more granular control with the manual campaigns, I choose to do down only. For the ad group name, we'll go back to our list again, and in this example, I'm going to choose the one named exact match. Now, what does that exactly mean? Well, in manual campaigns, you have the ability to either target a broad, phrase, or exact match type. And let me explain what these are. If you do the broad match keyword campaign, it will contain all of the keywords that you put in the campaign in any order and includes plurals, variations, and related keywords. For example, the term marshmallow sticks. It could match for any phrases or words that come before, after, or in between the words marshmallow sticks. So it shows for a variety of different keywords. This is generally going to be more expensive because it's not as targeted and could potentially target keywords that aren't as closely matched for your particular product. Phrase match contains the exact phrase or sequence of keywords that you enter into the campaign. For example, marshmallow sticks cannot have any words in between marshmallow sticks, although it is possible to add words before or after the phrase. This campaign requires the phrase to be written exactly how you enter it into the campaign. So, for example, a customer might search for marshmallow sticks for camping, and so your ad could potentially show up for this keyword. This allows you to be very specific and target your exact product while still leaving room for long tail keyword opportunities. If someone searched for marshmallow camping sticks, I would not show for phrase match because marshmallow sticks have to be next to each other. Last but not least, let's talk about exact match. This matches the keyword or sequence of keywords exactly. There can be no additional keywords added before, in between, or after. Your product will only be advertised if a customer types in the exact words that you've set up in your campaign. So for marshmallow sticks, the customer must type in marshmallow sticks. Those are the three different match types. When we're setting up our bids, we're going to use all three of these different match types. So I'm going to set up this particular ad group as an exact match. I'm going to choose which product I'm running this for. I'm going to do keyword targeting. Then, as you remember, I'm going to use the keywords that we researched for this particular campaign. Now, if you wanted, you could use Amazon's search terms. They can be helpful, but I'd prefer to do my own keyword research. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the ones out of Keyword Scout and paste them in here. The way that I like to do this is set up 3 different ad groups with the same keywords in each of the ad groups, but one targets broad, one targets phrase match, and the other one targets exact match. There's different types of thinking when it comes to the strategy around PPC. Some people think that when they first launch their PPC campaigns, they should start with only automatic. They see which keywords perform well, they put those keywords into broad, the ones that perform well in broad go into phrase, and the ones that perform well in phrase match go into exact match. I actually don't like to do that. I don't think that that leads to the best results because some keywords just perform better in broad, some perform better in exact, some perform better in phrase. I like to give all the keywords an opportunity with all the different match types. So the best way to organize this is by only selecting one match type here, which will be exact match in this case. I'm going to uncheck the other two match types, then click add keywords, and it's going to add all of those keywords as an exact match type. I'm going to put in Amazon's suggested bid to start, but as I mentioned, I find Amazon's bids to be a little conservative, so I do want to increase them all. If I wanted to do that here, I would have to go through and change them one by one. So what I like to do instead is I like to go ahead and launch this campaign. Then what I do is I go to edit campaign, I go to add groups and click on exact targeting. Then here it's easier for me to adjust all the bids at the same time. I select all of them, adjust bid, and then I like to increase the bid by around 25% to start with. This means that I can be a little bit more aggressive to try to get a few more sales, which is especially helpful when you're launching a brand new product. Now I save it and all my bids are 25% higher than Amazon's suggested bid. But when it comes to optimizing this, what we'll want to do is go through and we will optimize each individual keyword. Now that I've set up an exact match group, I want to do the same thing for phrase match and do the same thing for broad match. Now that you've done this, you've created your automatic campaign as well as your manual campaign for keyword targeting. These are going to be the two main types of campaigns that you're going to want to set up. This is where most sellers get 99% of their sales from with these two different types. After you've run these for about a week, we'll go back in them and we'll start to adjust these campaigns. Again, when you first create these campaigns, the first week's worth of data is going to look very bad. It's going to look like you've lost a lot of money, and chances are you have lost some money. Your ACoS is going to be pretty high, and it's like, oh man, I'm losing money on every sale that I'm getting through this. However, to start, we just have to do that so we can start collecting the data and the information of what our customers are searching for and then purchasing your product. Once we have more of that information, we're going to start to optimize these different campaigns so that we're not spending as much money. Now, if I back up, I'll briefly explain the other type of manual targeting where you target products instead of keywords. So when we select that instead, there is no longer any spots for me to enter a list of keywords. Instead, I have the ability to select categories or to select individual products. But I can either go through here, those would be all my competitors, and I could select the certain ones that I want to target. Alternatively, I could upload a list of ASINs of the different ones that I personally want to target and paste them right in here. When doing product targeting, the method that typically works best is targeting the products that are either priced higher than you and or getting worse reviews than you, and ideally both. Because as you can imagine, if a customer is on a listing and it's higher priced with worse reviews than yours, it's more likely that they would click on your ad and visit your listing. You wouldn't really want to show your product on a listing that's priced better and or has better reviews, especially if they have both of those, because it's unlikely that a customer who found that product is going to end up purchasing your product. With categories, it's a little bit different. You can search the category type you want in here. You can see there's a few different categories that may work for me. I can go through and see if there's any other ones that I feel are relevant for my particular product. Then there's this area down here, negative product targeting. I don't generally see too many uses for this, except for example, if you've chosen a few different categories and you wanted to make sure not to show it on a certain brand page or a certain product page. Maybe because that's another company of yours that you don't want to compete with, or for whatever reason, you can do that down here in negative targeting. Now that we've set up both an automatic and a manual campaign, let me show you how to optimize each of these. Ideally, this will take place at least a couple of weeks after launching or 1 week at minimum. Looking at this automatic campaign as an example, I'm going to open it up, look at my one automatic ad group here. Once it's been running for a while, you're going to see quite a few different pieces of data. This is how much money we've spent during the time frame selected. Again, in your case, you may have spent more here than the sales you've received in return. During your first week or weeks, this is perfectly fine. You have your ACoS, which is the advertising cost of sale. The impressions are how many times your ad has been displayed to customers. Now let's click into search terms. This is where you'll be able to understand your data a lot better. Let's start by sorting in alphabetical order. These are all the search terms or even products that Amazon thinks are relevant for your particular product. You can see all kinds of stuff. Some of them are relevant, some of them aren't. As you go through, what you'll also see is a whole bunch of alphanumeric strings that all start with B. These are actually Amazon listings. Amazon decided they should show my product on this particular listing. They might have shown it right here. Alternatively, they may have shown it down here in sponsored products related to this item. Someone on that listing at some point clicked on it and they charged me for that click. So you can actually adjust what columns are in here. I like the ones that are here by default. What I can see here is the search terms or products that Amazon showed my listing on, how many times it was clicked on, how much money I've spent, and how many orders, both in units and dollars, I've received as a result of people clicking on those, and the advertising cost of sale, or ACoS, which again, that's the percentage that it costs in advertising dollars versus sales. There's a lot of information on here. So how do you use it? Well, what we want to get out of this is we want to find all the keywords that are performing very badly and tell Amazon to stop showing our product for those keywords. Then we want to find all the keywords that are performing very well so we can make sure they are in our manual campaigns where we can optimize them on a more granular level. Because right now inside of the automatic campaigns, we can't optimize on the level of the particular keyword. A new feature was added fairly recently that does allow us to change our bid for that particular match type, but we can't change our bid for a particular search term. The way that we remove the high performers and the low performers is with the negative targeting. Let me show you how this works. To start, I'm going to sort by spend. I'm looking for keywords like this that have had a huge spend but have had 0 or few orders. I do not want Amazon to show my product for these anymore. What I'm gonna do is take these keywords and I'm gonna put them into negative targeting. I'm gonna start a list here with all the keywords that are poor performers. Now, usually my rule of thumb is it takes about 10 clicks and no sales, then I remove that keyword. That's a general rule of thumb. Now, if it's had 7 clicks, but it doesn't seem anything related, or 5 clicks, but it doesn't seem anything related to my product, then I'll also remove it. If it's had 12, 15, or even 20 clicks, but it does seem very relevant for my particular product, then sometimes I'll leave it. I'm gonna take all these poor performers right here, copy them, go into negative targeting, and I'm gonna add these as negative keywords. Now I'm gonna keep negative exact and negative phrase match because I don't really want Amazon showing my product for any of these, as well as if they have keywords before or after them, which is what phrase match would be. Add the keywords, save, and now I have all those on my negative keyword list. Now, the other thing that we want to do is we want to see if there's any really high performers in this group. To do so, I'm going to sort by orders. What I like to do with this is see which keywords I've gotten a sale on with relatively low spend or relatively good ACoS. Let's call a good ACoS under 50% as a general rule of thumb. I'm going to make another group right here that are all the high performers. All these keywords have a really low ACoS and I'm going to take those. So wedding sparklers, I actually have gotten 2 orders, but I've spent a lot of money, $60. We'll see like this one, 24-inch wood plant stakes. I only spent 90 cents and I got a sale for $30. It's 3% ACoS. So what I'm gonna do with these now is add all these high performers also to the negative targeting list. You might think why? And that's because I don't want Amazon to automatically show my product for these keywords. Instead, I want to show them in my manual campaigns so I can adjust the bids on a more granular level. The thinking behind this is if my ACoS here is really good, I wonder what happens if I increase my spend to $2 or $3. I might be able to get more impressions, more clicks, and ultimately more sales off of this. That's why I'd rather have it in a manual campaign versus an automatic campaign. So copy all of those, go into negative targeting, and same thing, negative and phrase, add keywords, and save. All right, now there are all of the negative keywords, both the high performers and the low performers. If I were to check the search terms section in a few weeks from now, none of these keywords, both the high or low performers, would show up on this list. The ones that we didn't remove, we're gonna continue to let Amazon try those inside of automatic campaigns to see whether or not they become high performers or low performers, or continue to do a little bit of nothing. The last part of optimizing my automatic campaigns is going to be adding these keywords to my manual campaigns. To do so, I'm going to go back into my campaigns, select manual. I'm going to go into this ad group. I want to make sure that it has all these keywords included in it. Add the keywords. I'm going to enter a list and paste in my high performers. Since I know these are high performers, I'm actually going to bid a lot of money. You can take Amazon's suggested bid here, but again, I'd aim for the higher end of the bid range. This is just my exact match ad group. What I'd like to do next is go back and add these to my broad and phrase match ad groups as well. The process is exactly the same. Now, a question that I commonly get is, am I going to be bidding against myself because I have this going in multiple campaigns? And the answer to that is no. You don't have to worry about that. Amazon doesn't let you bid against yourself. So let's recap the way to optimize these automatic campaigns. You let them run for a certain period of time, go in there after 1 week. We're going to look at the search terms. When we're looking at the search terms, we're going to try to find the high performers and the low performers. The low performers are the items that have gotten 10 or more clicks on and has a bad ACoS. You'll typically see that they're the ones that you spend a lot of money on and you haven't gotten any sales. The high performers are going to be the ones that you've gotten one or more sales off of from a fairly low number of clicks. Your ACoS is under 100% or maybe even under 50%. You're going to want to take those and put those into manual campaigns. Remember, both the high performers and the low performers are going to get put into the negative targeting because now that you're bidding on these in your manual campaign, we don't want Amazon bidding on these anymore. We want to control how much we're bidding for these particular keywords. Next up, I want to show you all how to optimize your manual campaigns. It's a little bit different from the automatic ones. First thing you're going to need to do is go ahead and click on the respective campaign. I'm going to go in here, I'm going to click on exact match type. I'm going to look at my targeting. These are all the keywords that I'm bidding on. So this is the keywords, exact match, it's working, this is my bid, impressions. That's the number of times it's shown up on the page and shown to a customer. Clicks, how many times it's been clicked. CTR is the click-through rate, which is the percentage of the time that it gets shown to a customer and they click on it. This is how much money I spent during this time frame, and this is my cost per click, or CPC. You can also see your advertising cost of sale here. What I like to do once I'm on this page is I like to organize it by spend. Just click on the column header. Now this shows me all the different keywords that I've spent money on. My goal here is either to reduce my spend for keywords that aren't converting at as high as I want, or I'm trying to increase the spend for the ones that are performing really well to see if I can get more impressions from them. How I go about doing this is I see which keywords I've spent a lot of money on, then I see what my bid is, and then I either decrease it or increase it. Then I also try to find items that haven't gotten any impressions, even though I feel like they should have. And I believe that increasing the bid price could help me get more impressions. Now you probably think, okay, what are you willing to spend on your PPC? And that's a great question. I think the first thing you need to think about is what is your profit margin as a percentage of your sales price? Let's say mine's 50% to keep it easy. This particular item costs $30, so that's a $15 profit margin, or 50% as a percentage. My advertising cost of sale could be up to 50%, and I could still make a little bit of money off that sale. If it's over 50%, that means I'm losing money on that sale, even though I paid for it and someone else clicked through to get it. Now, at first impression, why would you ever bid more than your ACoS in order to get that sale? The reason that some people choose to do so, including myself from time to time, is that getting extra sales through PPC helps your product rank better organically. Since your product's ranking better organically as a result of more sales through PPC, then you'll end up getting more sales organically and as a result, making more money ultimately. Some people will just use the rule of thumb, hey, I'll pay for ACoS of up to 100%. Me personally, I don't have a hard and fast rule. If my break-even ACoS is around 35%, for example, then I'm personally cool with spending 40 or 50%, maybe even up to 60%, but I really don't want to spend 100% ACoS. So that's how I approach optimizing these campaigns. Over here is my ACoS, my advertising cost of sale. Let's say I'm cool with anything up to 50%. Above that, I want to start adjusting it. Here are a couple of the keywords that are performing well. This one here is a little bit high. These ones here are a little bit high. Here, it's only one order of 7 clicks. It's not that big of a sample size. I could do two things here. I can either just leave it, alternatively, I could decrease my bid a little bit to see if I can get that ACoS down. That's what I'll choose to do because this bid's fairly high. So I've decreased my bid here and I can check back in another month and see how it's performing then. For marshmallow sticks, I've actually gotten 10 clicks and no sales. If I didn't feel that it was such a relevant term, I might think about decreasing my bid from there. But since it is so relevant, I'm gonna keep it. Here's an example of a keyword with a really low ACoS, but also really low impressions. This is a good example of the type of keyword that I'm actually gonna increase my bid on to see if I can get more impressions because it's performing quite well. I'll bump it up a bit and see how that performs. Now I've optimized all the ones that I've been spending a lot of money on. The last portion of this is to see what you haven't been getting impressions on and see if you believe they are extremely relevant for your particular product. And if so, then you could consider increasing the bid to see if you can get more impressions. Now, if there's no current data for suggested bids, there's a good chance that is because it's not commonly searched for. If there is a suggested bid, that means it's at least getting some decent search volume, but you haven't been shown yet. My product is very relevant for this one, so I'm actually going to increase the bid here. It's like 36-inch plant stakes. Mine works extremely well for that, so I'm actually going to increase this to like $2. I could go down and continue to do this. Camping outdoor decorations, nah. Disposable marshmallow roasting sticks, yeah, very relevant for that one. So let's increase that, see what happens. The keywords where I've increased the bid, it's more likely when I come back in a week or two that I'll have gotten more impressions than what I have so far. This is because likely what's happening is your bids aren't high enough to beat out the other people in order to get impressions for it. I mean, that's option A. Option B is for whatever reason, Amazon doesn't think that your product is relevant for that particular keyword. If you went up to a bid of say $5 or $6 and you're still not getting any impressions, probably what's happening there is Amazon doesn't think that your keyword is relevant for your product. What you can try to do is put those keywords into your listing so that hopefully Amazon realizes that the keyword is relevant for your particular product. I go through and I do this same process that I just showed you for the exact match, the phrase match, as well as the broad match campaigns. It does take a little while. In the first month or two, you're probably gonna wanna go in there each week and do the process. But after 2, 3, maybe 4 months, what you'll find is there's not much tweaking anymore because now you have very optimized campaigns and they're starting to perform quite well. It does, though, take a little bit of time to get your campaigns to perform at a very good rate. So don't get discouraged the first month or two. Your ACoS are very high because you can continue to optimize those and continue to choose which keywords are performing well, and you can continue to bring down the ACoS. When I go back to a campaign, I can see a few more settings. If Amazon's able to show me at the top of the search, what would that be worth to me? I could say you can spend 50% more if I'm at the top of search. And that's what they'll do here. Product pages, if you find those performing really well, you can increase those. And that's really about it. That's about all I do in here for optimizing my manual campaigns. If you can imagine, with the auto campaigns, we're removing the high performers and the low performers over time. All of them are eventually going to become a high performer or a low performer. After 6 months or maybe a year for some of these, I have so many negative keywords in my auto campaigns. I have all those high performers put into my manual campaigns, and I'm always tweaking my manual campaigns to be willing to spend a little bit more money or a little bit less money. As a result, always tweaking around the amount of ACoS. So to recap, we covered how to go about proper keyword research. We then created a portfolio for our product. We set up automatic campaigns as well as manual campaigns, and in those, we did a few different targeting types. Finally, we went through how to optimize both these automatic and the manual campaigns. PPC is an important part of your overall strategy because it not only gets you sales through PPC, but it also helps improve your organic rank, which leads to more sales. Keep in mind that your goal over time is to get almost all the keywords into the negative keyword section of the auto campaign and to be bidding on these in your manual campaigns. In your manual campaigns, you have a lot more power or flexibility to choose which keywords to increase or decrease the bids on, which ultimately is going to lead to a lower ACoS. Keep in mind when you are optimizing your sponsored products that the data is delayed a couple days and it takes a while to get enough data to have meaningful results. This will depend on how popular your particular product is for how long it takes to get these results. But we're talking about weeks and months, not days here. PPC optimization isn't something that's done in a day or a week. It really does take months to get your PPC campaigns performing well at a low ACoS. So don't get discouraged the first time, continue to optimize them week over week, and congratulations for making it this far. So that covers sponsored product ads. In the future, we'll cover sponsored brands and sponsored display ads. I found the most success with sponsored products, so I'd recommend staying focused on these. So now over to you. What step from this video are you going to implement immediately? Is it setting up a new manual campaign or optimizing one of your existing campaigns? Let me know in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching. All the best with your sponsored product ads, and I will see you next time.